of your screen and it will open up. And with that, Stefana, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Len. Hey, everyone. It's Stefana Muller, your product manager for CA Service Virtualization. Like Len said, today I'm going to go through some really fun stuff about Service Virtualization 8.x. So I'll briefly remind everyone about the release schedule, what's happening, and then we'll dive into a demo of all the features. I won't spend too much time in slides. I hope that I'll be able to demo most, if not all, of the functionality for you today. Okay, the first slide I wanted to go through with you is just to give everyone a level set on what our development cycle looks like on the product and how you can influence our roadmap. So the DevTest product line, which includes CA Service Virtualization, CA Application Test, and CA Continuous Application Insight, all release together. They are actually one installer, and they release together now on a monthly, almost monthly schedule. The development team follows a monthly agile sprint, and we follow those Scrum principles. So if you're familiar with Scrum, we follow that as closely as possible. We, again, have that typical schedule of 2 major releases per year. An example for you would be 7.5 and 8.0 or major releases in our minds, whereas 8.01 or 8.1 would be a minor release. And then we recently realized we were releasing every 2 or 3 months. And the team sat down and said, we're releasing much more quickly. Why is that, and what should we do to make that more standardized for our customers? So what we found is the reason we're releasing more quickly is we have a lot of work to do to get that DevTest portal migrated. So migrate the workstation over to the DevTest portal. So we're trying to release much more often and get feedback much more often on that user interface. In addition to that, we're getting a lot of requests for new stuff, and that's really great. That means our product is, in the hands of a lot of folks, and they're using it every single day, so they need things. You can take a look at our ideas out on the community and see how they've popped up from, I think it's over 300 ideas now that are in there. So how do we address that need, right, from our customers? And we said, well, every 3 months is good, but we find that we're actually building and delivering every month anyway because we're doing customer validation in between. Why can't we just go GA every month? So about 3 months ago, we started this process, and we are going GA monthly at this point. We may skip a month or 2 depending on the release schedule. Matter of fact, we have a planned skip right before our CA World release, which is in November, so you might not see something in October. But like I said, the cadence is going to be almost monthly. So we're excited about this cadence. I know that the response from customers, and for those of you on the phone, you're probably going, that's great. And then for those of you who have to actually manage the install and the upgrades, you're probably shaking your head and going, Stefana, we hate you. So I wanted to clarify on that. We're still getting feedback on the upgrade and how often you'd like to upgrade your instance of Service Virtualization or the DevTest solutions. We'd like that feedback. I'm going to put a poll out on the community after this call and ask for some comments and feedback on what is your typical upgrade cadence. Do you want to have a release monthly, or do you want to upgrade once a year? That cadence will help us understand whether or not this monthly release cadence is going to last, and whether or not we should expect you to upgrade to every single release. The feedback I've gotten from customers is anywhere from, I want to be on your monthly release and I'm going to make sure that my process allows for that, to I want to wait 18 months for a GA release because it takes me too long to go and upgrade my 80-plus servers. Okay, so that's the gamut that I'm working with. More feedback, the better. The other two things on this slide that are really important to point out to you is that we have a way for you to actually come back and say, hey, Stefana and Chris and all the other product managers, I want to influence your roadmap. I want you to do what I want you to do and not what Stefana wants to do. And that's absolutely fine, right? I'm building these products for you. So how do you get that information to me? The way to get that information to the product management team is to submit an idea in the community. There's some background noise on the line. If everyone can mute their lines. So the way to submit ideas into the community is to go into the community and click on Content Ideas, and you could then see all the ideas that are submitted. You can vote on them, comment on them, you can search for them, and you can see the updates that we put in there. So our team is out there almost daily. We actually have a weekly cadence where we have to be out on the community, and we force each other to make sure we do that at least once a week to update the ideas. Ideas are very important to us because this is our extended roadmap. You're actually putting stuff on our backlog when you submit something to an idea. I'm not kidding, right? You know, if you're trying to get on my Agile backlog, that's how you do it. So I think it's really important, and that's how you can really communicate with product management on a regular basis. The last thing on this slide that I wanted to point out is if you want to see things before they're released, if you want to contribute at a much higher level and test things out before we go GA with them, we have a customer validation program. We have about 80 individuals who are participating in this program from about 45 companies. That's great. It's a good set of our large customer base. I'd like more. So if you're not participating in this program today and want to participate, the sign-up information is out on our communities as well. And when we go to the Q&A, I'll post some links out there for you guys to take a look at and follow up with. Okay, so now that I got through that, I wanted to give you all take a look at our release cadence. So this is what we've done so far in the 8.x product line. So we delivered GA 8.0 in December, and then we waited a month and did a 8.01 in February. We waited a month and did 8.02 in April. And then in May we said, why can't we just start on a monthly cadence because we're doing it anyway internally. So we started that in June. We've missed the date a few times by a few days. Matter of fact, the 8.3 release was about 5 days late. That's not a big deal to us because in the end we're getting out quality software rapidly to you, our customers. So you're going to see it mostly in the beginning of a month is when we're going to release a release within the first 2 weeks of the month. Our sprint schedule is a monthly sprint schedule, so that allows for that. And some sprints are longer than others because of the fact that there's more days in the month or there's less vacation. So you're going to see more features in some sprints and less features in others. I wanted to give you guys that level set so you can see how it looks. As I said, these are feature-focused releases. We're not going to put a feature out there unless it's stable enough. We're not going to put an update that's going to change the entire backbone of a product in one of these point releases either. We also have a new thing called the preview features in Sandbox, and I'll show that to you in the demo, that allows you to test stuff out that is not complete yet. That's a good way of getting a taste of what customer validation program looks like. And the last thing on the list is, I think is really important because you, our customers, probably care that your feedback is being heard. The new mandate from our team to engineering and to the rest of the product team is all features must be reviewed by customers prior to GA. So if it's 1 customer or 10 customers, there's no cadence. It really depends on the feature itself, but every feature has to be reviewed before it goes GA. So I think this is putting a new standard on our product, and that hasn't happened in the past. We used to wait, within the dot releases, if you see 8.01 went GA, we probably wouldn't go beta with that. Now we're going beta every month. So this is exciting change for our team because we're now drinking our own champagne, right? We're telling you how your Agile release cycle should work, and now we're actually living it, using our tools and so on. Okay. So what am I going to go through today? I've got tons of slides. I'm not going to go through the slides. I will share with you these eye charts here. What I'm going to do is actually go right back over to sharing my screen. And I'm going to share my browser window so you can take a look at the demo of the new features. And what I'll try to do is go through each feature and highlight it for you, and then these slides can be used at a later date if you need them. Okay, so you should all see my browser now. Okay, now you should see my browser. And what I'm going to do is go into the DevTest portal and probably focus the majority of the demo here and then pop over to different things as necessary. Remember, now that I'm sharing, at the top of your screen is the sharing bar, and you should be able to see the Q&A there. If you don't see the Q&A, use the arrow to the right that says options, and there should be a Q&A panel. So please do ask questions as I go along so that I can answer your questions as they come in. It would be more interactive that way, and you won't have to listen to me for an hour speak instead. So I hope that you can ask questions along the way. So let me go through the features. 8.01 and 8.02, we did a call on those a few months ago, not last month, the month before, or the month before that. So you've gotten a level set on what was released in February and April. What I'm going to go through today is 8.1, 8.2, and the latest release, 8.3, that came out last night. So it was by the skin of our teeth last night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, we released 8.3. So if you haven't seen that yet, that's because it just came out, and I'll share with you what the features are in that latest release. Let's go 8.1 first. The first thing I wanted to share with you in 8.1 is that we changed some project level controls in the DevTest portal. So I could say there's probably 100 votes on this need, is to not, in the past when we first put out DevTest portal, we said, okay, you can use DevTest portal, but if you want to copy your new or use your old projects, you need to go and copy them over, and you have to do all of that work in Workstation. That was kind of painful, I could imagine. What we did in the 8.1 release is we changed the project panel, and we created a new one here. As you can see, current project. And if you look at the top, you can now add a project or delete a project, and you can actually go in and see all your projects, and you can filter by a project as well. So when we go in, you can see that I could select a project, I can delete, I can add. So if I go in and add new project, and I could put a description in now, so that helps you to maintain multiple people looking for things in a portal. If you have a bunch of folks in the same portal instance, you probably want to add descriptions so that they know why to use this project or when they should be using this project. So in the case that you have a demo project, this could be the demo project. And once you click OK, what it does is it creates that folder structure on your machine and then adds the new project. In addition to that, if you saw in the background, my DevTest portal refreshed. So now that project is in the current project window, and you can select your project. If I wanted to, I could also go, and I'm going to close out of here. I could also go and in the Manage area and all resources, I can go in and see all the projects and the artifacts within those projects. So you remember new project with the latest? There you go. There's a new project, and the one artifact that gets created automatically is the all test suite. So it would combine anything in your project that was related to tests so that you can run all the tests at once. That automatically gets created even though nothing else is in the project today. So now you see that my new project is there. The other option that we have is to be able to upload a MAR into a project. So if I wanted to, I could download a MAR. Let me go and download something so I have it on my machine. I can show you how to upload. Okay, I'll download Bank V5, and it's in my downloads folder now. And I'm going to go in and upload a MAR into my project, into my new project. So I could click this little upload, and I'm going to go into my downloads, and I'm going to select that MAR file that was just downloaded. Please excuse my screen if you're unable to see my downloads folder. I apologize. That's because I'm not sharing that folder, but you click update, upload. So I drop the MAR in, and it says HTTP MAR is there. Okay, I can do multiple files if I want to. It also checks for conflicts, so you can force a merge for conflicts if something already exists in that project that's named the same, or you can say alert me to conflicts. So now in the new project, I have that other MAR. So let's go look at it really quick. I'm going to do a refresh on the screen, and I'm going to go and sort by that project, new, and here you go. HTTP is in there. That specific file is available in new project as well as in Bank V5. As you can see, some of these controls are really necessary for you to be able to share these instances with multiple people within your organization. It's very difficult to try to do work in the portal unless you have the ability to create stuff new and share projects and, you know, change a description of something. The interesting thing is we found that a lot of folks were asking for some other things like this artifact list. To be able to see all the different artifacts from different projects at the same time. I think I demoed this for you guys a while back in the 8.02 when we first put it out there. The artifact list lets you grab a file from one project and another. So let's go get that other HTTP, right, in the new project, which is the same thing right now. And say you had differences, you can actually open them up and you can copy and paste from a specific VSI file to another. So that wasn't something we had in the past. We were only able to copy and paste within a VSI file. Now you can copy this, and you can go into the other VSI and paste it if you need. So there you go. Okay, so now you see that it refreshed. There it goes. It was at the top. It took a second to refresh, but it's loading up a very large file, which is fine. It's loading it in memory, so you can see that I just pasted that in there. Now, that's helpful. Right now, you know that these two files are equal. What if they weren't equal? That's really when you would use the copy and paste functionality, right? When you have to get something from another virtual service image and move it to a virtual service image in a new project or another folder. By the way, all of this progressively saves, so though I closed out that other HTTP virtual service, it saved automatically, so I could also go in and close out this one, and it progressive saves. It doesn't wait for you to go and hit a save button. And that was introduced in 8.0. That's nothing different. I just wanted to mention it because I have had that question come out a few times. What else was in 8.1? I'm going to show you the recording screen. So there was a need from in the community that came out, and you guys wanted to be able to record multiple virtual services at the same time. Now you can actually open up the recording screen up to 40 times. I'm not going to do it 40 times because that would be annoying, but I could show you that you can open up as many times as you need, and you could do multiple recordings. So you could also select your VSC server and do a recording on different VSCs at different times. So I can say that my recording name is just record, and then I'm going to change, and if I change screens, it saves that recording. So now just record is here, and this is, I can actually change the next one. So as you see, you have the ability to go and open as many recordings at once and then do a recording on an endpoint. So imagine that your client is passing through a port and hitting an endpoint. Maybe it's passing through multiple ports at the same time. You could actually record that entire composite virtual service at the same time by using these tabs. Obviously, we want to enhance that in the future and make it easier for you to see all the recordings at once. But for now, you have the ability to open multiple tabs. So that's up to 40 tabs because that's really all you can be able to manage at once. And also, we wanted to make sure from a performance perspective, we weren't killing you. So 40 is really where it lasts up to. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do headless recording. You can start a recording and close the tab, and it will continue. So you can continue a recording without having a tab open. The point is that the tabs will max out at 40. Okay. So that is the other feature that was in 8.1. We also did 2 other things that I can't demo for you today because I don't have the instance on my machine. I'm going to actually go back to my presentation really quick and show you those 2 things in 8.1 that came out that you haven't seen before. So the first thing is I did talk to you about the HTTP multiple virtual service recording. So the next thing is the ability for you to modify how our REST data protocol handler manages or deciphers your transactions. So when you record a virtual service with a REST virtual service, we actually, our data protocol handler goes in and translates what it saw, right? So it captures the transactions, and then the data protocol handler translates it. And we may make some mistakes with the translation. Why? Because every REST string, the URI can be short, long, or whatnot, and the start position for changes or differences may change over time. So what we do now, instead of just changing things, we actually allow you to go and change things for yourself. So you can see now in the REST data protocol configuration, after recording, you could actually see the rules that we created. So this list on the left side of the screen is the rules we created based on the recording. And you can delete things, you can add things, you can move things around as necessary. When you click on a rule, as you can see here, I clicked on Lisa Bank Images URL param. If I click on that rule, it tells me all the traffic that was captured that was attributed to that rule. And I think that's really helpful because now you know how our data protocol handler is working and how it's figuring out what the request and response should be. And you can modify that. You can say this is wrong, right? Or you can then go and delete the rule and add a manual rule as necessary. In addition to that, on the right side of the screen, you have the ability to go and change the analyzer itself. So you can say, hey, REST DPH, you shouldn't start at position 3 in the URI. You should start at position 2. Or you need to change some of the regular expressions, right? Or maybe there's something different in my URI that makes things different, right? There's just a few things that you can change here that is really important to customizing for your needs. Now, once you change it, you can click the update button and it will update all the rules based on that change. In addition to that, at the bottom of the screen, it will show you anything that's unmatched traffic. What that will mean is if you changed a rule and reran the DPH, data protocol handler, it will actually check to see if anything didn't get matched with your new rules. And you could then go and create a new rule for that unmatched traffic, the traffic that won't be read properly. So I think this is great, and this is a good indication of where we're heading with our data protocol handlers. It's great when we create a DPH or data protocol handler to handle your specific protocols, REST being one that's much more popular than a customized one. But we can't get everything correct in the first run, so we want you to be able to modify that as necessary. Obviously, with when we do testing against our data protocol handlers, we note the accuracy, and with REST, the accuracy challenge was related to start position. So now that we have this change in here and allow you to modify rules and create your own rules, accuracy can go up significantly, and you can see where things are inaccurate as well. So you can save and close that. That's during the record process. I think this is interesting functionality that will really help you customize to your needs. So what else do we have? We have a new response editor in the service virtualization request and response in the service image. Sorry, I'm using the wrong term. In the service image, you have the ability now to go into the response and change that response in a smarter way. So I can actually demo this in a second, but I wanted to go through the list of things that you can now do because I'm not going to demo everything. The live syntax checker, so you can check syntax for JavaScript, CoffeeScript, CSS, XQuery. You can actually automatically indent and outdent. It will help you modify that response without making a huge mistake, right? Because it could do some error checking for you. You can copy and paste in that field. This functionality that we use in our response editor is an open source functionality called ACE Editor. If you want to know more about it, you can go to ace.c9.io. That's their website. We found that a lot of companies that are using a code editor in a web-based UI are using ACE Editor, and we found it to be the highest performance editor out there. So that's why we put it in. I'm going to go in and share with you what it looks like. We did go through the copy and paste of service images, service transactions. We went through the project controls. And the last thing that was in 8.1 that I did not go through because I don't have the environment for you today is the IBM MQ Native Support. So we actually have a demo out there and a blog about this feature. So if you want to see the full demo, it takes about 20 minutes. And I have Kevin Bowman, who is the key developer, demoing for you all the features. The IBM Native MQ support is important because now we have the ability for you to save assets. So if you're doing MQ recordings or tests, it's kind of difficult to have each of your users who are going in to go and record those transactions to know everything about the queue manager, everything about the live request queue, the live response queue, or even the proxy request and response queues. So now you can save that information into the workstation, which allows, other people to use it as necessary. So once you put all that information in, you check that that information is correct because there's an auto check that will make sure that it can connect to the queue at that point. You can walk away as the administrator, right? Now everyone can do a recording and a test and whatnot using that information without having to know every single parameter. That really helps, especially when only one person in the department knows, all the queues. So in addition to that, using those pre-configured assets, you can actually use the asset within, like I said, in a virtual service recording, and you can use it in a test. So you could save it once and use it both. This is an update in Workstation. I know it is not in the DevTest portal, and the reason we did this is there's a lot of work that needs to go into, there was a lot of work that needed to go into this, and we wanted to make sure it was stable. So we put it all in. We've found that with the native MQ support, there's been significant enhancements. Matter of fact, we're able to add on additional message queue support outside of just IBM and so on. We can now add on additional message queue support very quickly because of this functionality. What else? So I have a list here, and you can take a screenshot of the screen if you want. There is a blog about this so that you don't have to, capture everything as we go. But this is the features that are in the IBM MQ Native Support for Virtual Service Recorder. You have the ability to, like I said, select from a drop-down your assets that are already saved. they're backward compatibility, so if you had old MQ recordings, all of that is still compatible in this new MQ Native Support. The service model is standard, so you can actually go and see the service model and see the live request and live response queues in there. You have multiple queue manager abilities, so you can actually add up to 4 different queue managers in a recording, and that could happen, right? Maybe your proxy queue is on one thing, your request queue is on one queue manager, and your proxy response queue is in another, or your live queues are on different area queue managers. So that is really helpful, especially when it gets confusing when you're managing multiple queues, multiple queue managers. It can get confusing. So now you can save that stuff and use them all at the same time. Multiple request response queues on a single virtual service recording. Like I said, that ties right into the queue managers as well. Advanced options. So I am not sharing with you the advanced options right now because there's a slew of advanced options. The point is we can actually allow you to now configure your IBM MQ queues and how they work in production, just like, how they work in the virtual service, just like they work in production. So you have all the functionality in the advanced options. Okay, there is a question in the Q&A. I want to answer that. So the question was, does DevTest support MSMQ? And this is from Surya. Surya, that's a good question. We don't today. We're not able to record MSMQ messages over the MSMQ. There is no way to interrupt that traffic because Microsoft doesn't document that, that information. So instead, we had recommended, and I can write a blog about this, what our recommendation is, but we recommend that folks use BizTalk to be the bridge and translate that traffic over to HTTP, capture the traffic, and play it back in that way. This is something that we've worked on for a few years now and found it to be successful with many customers. It's not that we don't want to support MSMQ, we just know that there is no way to interrupt that traffic. There's no ability to get in between so that we can go and record it and play it back. And that is a product of the MSMQ structure. If you notice and go and search for it on Google, I actually did it a few weeks ago to show people what we were trying to do. The response from most folks is, you just can't do it. We're doing our best here, and the way we found to work around it is using BizTalk. I will have my team write a blog about how you can get around that. Good question. Okay, also in test, I know this isn't a call about test, but we did add native IBM MQ support to test as well. So you can go and change, your send and receive. There's a new send and receive step. So send would be put, receive would be get in the terminology of MQ. But you could actually go in and change those steps and change the queues and use them in the drop-down. There's also new correlation schemes built in. Like I said, you do have the granular control as necessary. And last but not least, we support RFH2 headers. So that was a request from communities. Okay, now let's go into the 8.2 product. Actually, that's 8.3, so I'm going to actually go back to my sharing and share with you my browser again, and we'll go into 8.2. I'll give it 1 second to refresh. There we go. So what was in 8.2? In 8.2, we introduced a new feature called Sandbox. So I'm going to show you where Sandbox is. Actually, clicked on the wrong button. There we go. So you see up on the right side of the screen, I'm logged in as admin. And I have a few options. The preferences was introduced in 8.01 or 8.02, I don't remember which version, but preferences allow you to set certain preferences and change the language and change your help bubbles and so on. The second thing is the Sandbox, and this is new. Everyone has access to this once you've installed 8.2 or 8.3. This is new functionality. The Sandbox changes every release, so the functionality in the list in the Sandbox changes. And what is the Sandbox? Let me back up a bit and give you an overview of what it actually is and why you would use it. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So the Sandbox is the way that we're giving you previews or a sneak peek of the upcoming changes in the DevTest portal. Like I said earlier, it's really important for us to give you features before they go quote-unquote GA, before they're completely supported and they change your entire way of doing things. So the way we're actually getting some of those features out is once they're stable in development, we push them out into the Sandbox so that you can take a look and give us feedback. So this is an extension of the customer validation program that's available to everyone. You don't have to sign any agreements. You can now go into the Sandbox and change your features that are visible to you. As you can see, some of the Sandbox features in 8.3 are listed here, like the data-driven virtual services. Using an Excel or CSV file, you can actually upload and map a virtual service image. Find and replace, which is cool. I have it all turned on, so I'm going to share with you how it works right now. And virtual service environment, which has been there since 8.2, so I'm going to share with you what that looks like. Like I said, the Sandbox is preview, so some of these features are not complete, like the data-driven VSI. There's only half of it complete. You won't be able to actually play back the virtual service yet, but it is a way for you to give us feedback and say, Stefana, this is great, or hey, you guys missed the ball. We want to be able to do X, right? This is a way for us to get that feedback within the product lifecycle. So the Sandbox is user-based, like I said. That's why it's under the user's login permissions. The user can turn it on and off. It's not global is the point. Okay, so now we're going to go into, now that I just gave you an idea of the Sandbox, I'm going to go into some of the other functionality that I don't have the ability to demo today, but we'll give you a listing of. If we go into my PowerPoint, sorry for keeping going back and forth. Remember, if you have any questions and want me to stop or pause, just ask those in the Q&A panel. Going back to the presentation, I'm going to go back a few slides to the highlights. Here we go. So I went through the Sandbox with you. The other features that I'm not going to demo today, but just share with you what it looks like, is the ability for you now to use mutual SSL from a request and a require perspective. So in our recorder, you've seen this before. In the recorder, you have the ability to check off SSL and see the client certificate, upload that information, see the server certificate, upload that information. And that is mutual SSL, right? The ability to both use server and client-side certificates. The mutual SSL has a few layers, right? You have the ability to both request those certificates and require them. So in a lot of secure transactions, especially with web traffic, you want to be able to both request and require mutual certificates. And what we've added to the support is the ability to do that. That functionality is fully documented now. I haven't written a blog on it yet, but I will. But in the meantime, you can go out on our wiki and take a look at how that functionality works and how you can use it in your environment. This was a request from a specific customer. I definitely want feedback on it because we did build it for one organization right now. So if it is valuable to you, take a look and let us know if that's going to answer your questions on mutual SSL. Virtualization of SOAP with attachments. This was kind of a bug fix / an enhancement. We found there was a challenge with SOAP transactions that had attachments. We now support it. So this is one of the really helpful things of our monthly release cadence. It allows us to get support for some major things and fixes in very quickly. what else did we do? In the VSI editor, we have a capability to find attributes and arguments with sorted columns, so there's some more human readable content during the recording and the editing of a virtual service. It just makes it simpler to see, so we modified that screen a bit, and I'll share it with you in a second. I also talked about the enhanced code editor in the service image. Now we also have an enhanced code editor and viewer in the request area as well, so it's not just in the response. Okay, and now before I go back to the demo, I'm going to just cover some of the high levels of 8.3, and then we're going to go to the demo so I could show you a few of those things. The Copybook user interface was moved out of the Sandbox. So in 8.2 it was in Sandbox, and now in 8.3 is GA. So I can actually demo that for you today. I blogged about it as well, and it has a detailed demo out on our community. So if you're looking for more information and more detail, definitely go through it. The other thing is there's 3 new features in the Sandbox. I'm going to share with you what those 3 new features are and how they work, and demo for you what the future may lead to there. So that's the VSE server. You'd actually see and monitor your virtual services that are running, and you could do that within the DevTest portal. Find and replace in the service image. So we used to just have the search. Now you have the search and replace functionality. You could replace one or replace all. This is some really cool stuff. You're going to see us enhance this along the way. I know that a lot of you who are editing virtual service images often, you were asking for this. You're saying, Stefana, we need it. We have it in Workstation. We don't have it in DevTest portal, and we need it enhanced. We don't just need a map of what happened in Workstation. I updated that community posting just to have you guys take a look at it. So take a look at the new functionality in there and let us know what you think and if we're headed in the right direction. And last but not least, I will share with you what the data-driven virtual service screens look like. Okay. Now let's go into the demo again, back and forth, back and forth. Now, if you'd like to ask any questions, please do in the Q&A panel. I keep reminding you that this is a time for feedback, questions. If you have, hey, why didn't you do this? You could ask that now. It's a good place to ask me all those detailed nitty-gritty questions. I'm going to just make my screen as big as I can for you to see and go into my DevTest portal. So the feature I mentioned that I'm going to share is the VSI editor attributes and arguments sorting. So let's go into manage. Let's take a new virtual service. Actually don't have one in this project. So what do? I change my project to Bank v6. And I'm going to go in here and just grab a service image. There you go. So now you have the ability in here to go and change to auto-format the code. You can go and start writing. So as you can see, I'm writing code in this editor. It's actually error checking for me. It's saying, hey, that doesn't make any sense. You haven't closed the tag. Okay, great. As I do that, it will allow me, it will error check and say, you closed the tag, but you didn't open it. So that's helpful as well. So let's open the tag. And automatically the closed tag goes in. So this is some of the functionality that we added to the response date editor. Again, this is the ACE editor functionality, and if I go to the ACE editor website, you can see it. So take a look at some of this functionality. Like I said, we're trying to use as much standard functionality as possible in our web interface. So really cool abilities here that we can now enable because we're standardized on the ACE editor. Okay, back to our portal. Not that I'm presenting on a third-party product here. So it will error check for you. You can actually change the format. You can select and change the format of things if it were in different, right now it's in XML, so obviously it can change it. You can change it to text so it doesn't do any coloring. You can then change it to JSON. If it were JSON, it would work. There you go. It's saying, no, it's not JSON. What are you doing? So there you go. Some of the other functionality, like I mentioned, is if you were in the response editor, you'd be able to tab between responses. You can go in and take a look at this list here. So some of the, like I said, the functionality is really helpful for those who are looking to find the information that they can't find. Let me demo for you now the find and replace, which is in the which is a hidden function, right, in the Sandbox. So I'm in the service image, and let's take a look at something. Let's find something that we don't know. I might want to find this auto format so we can see something. Privacy. Privacy is the word I want to find. So I'm going to go back up to the top. I showed you where it was, and I'm going to go privacy. And it found privacy. So you can actually click on it, and the search will come up with results. You can see privacy was it was in a bunch of areas: response text, signature, specific argument value. Privacy is everywhere. Now, when you're doing a find and replace, it's great to have it everywhere, right, and do a quick replace all of privacy across the full service image, excuse me. But what if you don't want to replace it all across the full service image? What if you only want to replace it in the response text? So now you can actually add a filter. So if you see the filters here, you can say, I don't want it in request arguments, I don't want it in request attributes, I only want it in the response. Okay, so you see my list of results has reduced, and now I can change privacy to Stefana, because that's something I'll notice, and I'll replace all. Awesome, it's all done. And now if I go in and refresh, it will show you that Stefana is now here in the response. Now, what if I now know that I just messed with my service image and I want to go and change that again? I can click Find or Find Next, and I can go and sort through. You see that? I can also change it back to privacy. Okay, and I replaced all. Now, this is obviously in demo mode, so there's some things that weren't working that we had to fix through. One is in the filters, you have service image name and service image description. You really should not be able to replace the service image name in this way. That could probably break a few things, so we're going to remove that once the feature goes GA. But like I said, take a look. Let us know what you think about this functionality. Some other things in the search is if you just drop down here, you could do a whole word, a match case, or regex search. So you now have some advanced search options. There was a question in my last call that I did internally on this functionality that was, Stefana, can I change the operator using this functionality? And the answer is not yet. We have not put in the advanced find and replace, which is something that I am working on, so I will comment on that. And that will allow you to change operator and change magic string and things like that, which I know is very valuable to you. Okay, this find and replace works across one service image, so you'll have to do it for if you have to do it for multiples, you'll have to do it individually. But there was a request in the community to do this across service images. So if you have that same need, please go out there and vote for that request. What else do I have to show you today? The Copybook Editor. So if you don't know what a copybook is, close your ears right now and hum a silent tune so you don't have to hear this, because it is scary, right? Copybooks are scary. They're old code, right? They're code that somebody created years ago, and somehow you have to adopt it. The copybook is the old term for mainframe COBOL programs, and it's a standard for reading messages, so it gives you that standard information. What's helpful with a copybook is once you have the copybook, and if you know it's correct, you can then use it over and over again, right? And no one else has to write the description. Nowadays, XML is more descriptive within its it's code itself, so you don't need a copybook or a descriptor file for the XML. The XML is self-describing. But in the past, and with a lot of your legacy systems, you're going to be using copybooks. Well, how do we use copybooks in service virtualization? Well, there's the need here because if you're going to go and record transactions with a legacy system, how do we know how to decipher what those transactions look like and what the response looks like so we can play back that message? We use the copybook to do that. So we need that descriptor, we need that information in the copybook to translate the messages from COBOL to XML and back again, right? How do we do that? Well, in the past, it was really painful. I'll just tell you that. If you were using anything less than 8.3, you would not have this UI, and you'd have to go in and create this mapping file manually. You'd have to read a full document on it and how to do it. Now you can create a bundle. You can take your copybooks that you have existing and throw them into this bundle and automatically create the mapping file, all in this user interface. There is a full demo out there for this out on the community. Like I said, published it a few days ago. So go take a look if you want to see the detail. But for now, I'm just going to share with you creating a new bundle very quickly. Okay, I'm just going to click the Save button. And this is when I already have transactions captured. We are working on functionality to allow you to use this editor while you're capturing transactions. That's the next step. But for now, this is, I already have the captured transactions. Now I want to apply the copybook. So if I go in, I can then say, hey, Stefana, where are your copybooks? I'm going to import them. So you guys pretty much have these already, right? I'm going to go find mine. I think I put it on my desktop. Sample copybooks, here we go. I'm going to grab a bunch of them, and I'm going to click Open. A lot of times when you're working with copybooks, only one person has access to them, and sometimes you have an issue where someone forgot a dot, right? How do you know that that dot got forgotten? Now you have a very simple parsing that can happen before you go and create your mapping file to make sure that that copybook is correct. So I'm going to do the parsing, and it'll go through and parse the copybook and say, is everything readable? Is everything working? Just a note here, it did not error check that because I didn't save it. So unfortunately, I parsed before I error checked, and it didn't error check. But if there was something incorrect and I saved it, I gave it time to save, it would allow me to have that big X mark here and give you more information about what was wrong and highlight that problem in the copybook. That's all in that demo on the community. The mapping file is here, and like I said in the past, you'd have to go in and create that manually. Now you can actually go in and add an empty entry and go and select things in drop downs instead. Type things in and error check to see if something is incorrect. Look, it's not working. So this is really helpful for those who don't want to go and write code, right? And you don't want to go and look and try to write this mapping file entry manually. Now you can just use these drop downs and this error checking screen to do that. I actually have a mapping entry already. I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to just upload my existing mapping file so that you can see how a bundle is created. So I'm going to upload that one. And now you see my copybooks all mapped into my mapping file, all the copybooks defined here, the things that I added in. And you can then go in and see everything you need to see about the copybook and mapping file. And now that the bundle is loaded, I'm going to go and save it. And the save is completed. And now you can go in. How cool is this? Now that my bundle is created and saved, I can go in the Manage screen and I can see my copybook bundle. Look, new 3 bundle is here. So I can open it back up, I can use it, I can move it to another project or use it within other projects. Again, if you're working with copybooks today, this is really significant functionality. If you're not working with copybooks today, you could probably hum your way through this portion of the discussion so you don't have to hear about it, but it will be valuable if you ever have to plug into a legacy application. Okay, so I did go through the majority of functionality. I'm going to go back and make sure that there's no questions because I haven't paused for a moment to look at the Q&A panel. There is a question from Ben. Are we able to automatically create unit tests for a VSI? Ben, great question. That is in the backlog, and I have a team working on it now. I don't have a date of when I'll be able to demo that for you, but I can tell you if you're part of the customer validation program, you'll see it very soon. Okay, any other questions? If you do have questions, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to actually go back to my deck, which I said I wouldn't do, but I'm going to go back there and share with you one last thing that I think is really helpful and useful for you, our existing customers working with our software. So in 8.3 that went out yesterday, we delivered new Docker containers or images that allow you to build your own Docker container. I'll give you some of my challenges. So I work for CA, right? We're a large company, and there's, we're a public company, so we can't do certain things, like we can't distribute Linux, okay, for instance. Or if I deliver something to you, I must have you assign a EULA. So some of those things make it difficult for me to deliver you a full Docker image already created. So what we did is in our Linux installer, we provided you all the information and the files to run and allow you to create your own Docker containers and images. So we also gave you some description of all the different components that you can pull in and what they're parsed out into. As you can see, there's some pretty big components, and then there's smaller ones. This is really helpful for what? Well, probably we'll use an install of the DevTest base once on your machine, right? And then you might go and deploy multiple demo servers or multiple portals or multiple servers, right? Servers would be a standalone coordinator, simulator, and VSC. And you may do that in a cloud instance where your base or enterprise dashboard and all that fun stuff is on-prem. So that is the way that we're seeing a lot of our customers use the software today. They are saying, hey, we need an environment where we can host some stuff on-prem and then pull up a coordinator simulator and a VSC very quickly out in a cloud instance and then destroy it afterwards. So this is our first step into enabling you to do that with Docker containers. Again, you have to have a little bit of background on Docker before you start using this, so I recommend you taking some of that training and take a look at how it works. But take a look at our documentation and you'll be able to see all the information that you need to make this available to your environment. I'm just going to go on mute 1 second as I fix my headset. Okay. I am back. All right, so the Docker containers, like I said, are all the instructions, information are out on our documentation site, which is wiki.ca.com/DTS, which stands for DevTest Solutions. The reason why we had to call it DTS and not Service Virtualization is because we have about 3 to 4 products that are under that same documentation area, just in case you were wondering what that is. Ben says thanks, and I'm looking at the Q&A here, and I have one more. So Surya is asking for support for virtualizing ODBC via some bridge. Surya, let me take that one offline with you because I had this discussion recently with a customer and my counterpart, Chris Krause, and we were looking into what you're trying to virtualize there and what it is you're trying to test. So it would be helpful to get more detail on that use case, and we could even discuss it in the community, but I won't be able to discuss it within the 1 minute we have left. So please, let's take that offline, and I will have a discussion with Chris Krause, who's my counterpart. He's here in Islandia with me today, so I can have that discussion today, and we can kind of start a discussion out on the community for support of ODBC. Okay, like I said, we're up to Q&A. I have 1 minute left or less than a minute left. I wanted to share with you some of the information on how to get more information that I share, than what I shared today. One is the release notes and documentation are out on the wiki. That's a shortened link for you to get to. It gives you the latest doc. You can change the version of the doc that you want to look at, but 8.3 is out there. In addition, how do I get 8.3? You go to the support site and you download it the same way you got it every other version. If you want, if you want those Docker containers, you have to download the Linux version and you have to have your own copy of Linux. Community, you all know that link because you got access to this call because of it. And last but not least, if you want to be involved in our futures, go into the Lisa Validation Group and request access. Okay, guys, we are now at the top of the hour, and I think I've answered the majority of the questions that came in. If you have further questions, just respond to the recording of this. So you'll have this out on the community within a few hours, and Len will put it out there. Len, is there anything that we want to cover in the last few minutes, or is that it?
Nothing from me. As Stefana said, we'll get this posted in the community, the replay later today, and I'll also be sending out a thank you email either today or first thing tomorrow morning that will also include the recording information. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, thank you, Len, for hosting, and it was great to talk to all of you. Next time, I hope more people, pepper me with questions. Have a great day, guys.